Hi. Did everybody get a chance to eat? Some of you still have your lunches. Very smart. Working lunch. We're all used to that. I know everybody on the stage right now is used to that. So we're going to be talking a little bit about running for office. That's an important part. Are we down for that?
Yeah, I'm down.
So I'm going to quickly introduce the two amazing women who are by my side. I feel like I'm sandwiched between brilliance. Michelle Ortiz, who you heard from a little bit earlier, talking about some amazing numbers on what representation looks like right now. And Aisha Moody Mills, who will kind of start us off this morning. And I will give a little bit more of an introduction of them, but Aisha Moody Mills is the president and CEO of the Victory Fund and Institute, which is the only organization dedicated to helping LGBT leaders to run for office and win.
Yes. Maybe I should stand. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So I want to just really briefly start us off by grounding us in a little bit of data from the Victory War Room, because I think it's important that we have a conversation that really emphasizes the why and why we need to run for office and the urgency of now. So I know everybody saw this. You probably talked about it this morning. You saw this week that the Trump administration has done his first really ridiculously heinous thing to our community by leaving our trans youth vulnerable. And he's going to continue to nickel and dime our rights, if you will. And over time, it's going to get worse, unfortunately, as opposed to get better. But here's the thing that I want you guys to know is that despite what's happening out of the federal administration, the next battleground for LGBT rights is really happening at the state and local levels. So that's why, as I go through my presentation, I'm going to talk to you quite a bit about running at the state and local level, as opposed to talking to you about Congress. I'm having a situation. Anybody? Am I working here?
We're having a Janet Jackson.
There we go. Okay, yes. All right. So check out this map right here. There is a direct correlation between the number of out LGBT people who are serving in a state, in any level of elected office, and the level of equality in that state. And this map is really important, and it shows us here that when you have low LGBT representation, you ultimately have low equality. So if you look at all this pink on this map, these are essentially what we call low equality states. And that's just a fancy way of saying these are still the states, and by the way, it's more than half of this country, where we as LGBT people don't have basic civil rights. We're being denied basic civil rights. It is not surprising that those are also the same states where we do not have many people serving in the state legislatures. And this is really critical because right now the battleground for LGBT rights is happening with state lawmakers in the state legislatures. And so when some of these states are pretty surprising to me. When I look at a Florida and I see only 2, or when I look at a Texas and I see only 2, or when I look at Ohio and we only have 1, when I know that those states are hella gay. But for some reason, we don't have a lot of representation there. That's where we got to get to work, is in these states here. And so I want you to kind of burn this into your mind and also see that it's not surprising that on the coast we've done so well, because look at our representation on the coast. Go California, yay. So I want to just kind of really beat this home now. If you walk away with nothing from this conversation, know that running for office matters, because when we are not at the table, we are on the menu. And I just want to illuminate that to you, just a couple of things from our war room. Last year, we did some analysis just looking at the state legislation that was moving through. We fought off over 200 anti-LGBT bills in state legislators all across this country last year. And what we found when we did this analysis is that the states that had 2 or fewer openly LGBT lawmakers were the ones that were most likely to have those bad bills that moved through. And that's because there was nobody there to essentially block and tackle on our behalf. And to further illuminate this, it does matter even if we only have 1, frankly, in some states. 1 person who's serving in the state Senate can beat back a whole lot of anti-LGBT foolishness, and that's meaningful. Just looking at North Carolina, because this is the vivid example, because we still have not fixed the drama in North Carolina. Last year, Mississippi passed a law, North Carolina passed a law, Georgia also passed a nasty anti-trans bill. But in Georgia, the governor refused to actually sign that into law. And it's not surprising that out of those states, at the time when that legislation was moving, Georgia was the only one that actually had out representation, and has for 20 years, in the legislature, actually on the city council in Atlanta. Right now this year, we're actually running Kathy Woolard to be mayor of Atlanta. So Georgia is really doing it there. And you see the consequence of that. We get the new South when we have our people in place. Now, in North Carolina, we've gotten 2 people. One came out, one just got appointed, so we're kind of trying to get some numbers there. But this is the consequences of what happens when we're not at the table. So the moral of the story, and what I want us to think about, is that the next battleground for LGBT rights is absolutely at the state and local levels. That's where we're getting our asses handed to us. And this is where we have to fight and where we have to win. And we are in the middle of what I know so many of us feel like a crazy breakdown right now. But I want to remind you that this breakdown that we're having in our government is actually an opportunity for a huge breakthrough. And we saw that when more than 2 million of us marched through the streets. We saw that. There's a lot of energy. But the thing is that marching is important. But where we really build power is when we are the people who are sitting at the table making the decisions that affect our day-to-day lives. And as I showed you in that map, we still don't have much power. So I am appealing to you guys because you in this room can be the antidote to all the craziness that we see and to defend us from it and to continue to drive equality forward. So I am appealing to you to do more than march. We need you guys to run, and Victory is here to help you do that. And like Angelique said, we've been around for 25 years, and we are the only organization dedicated to getting LGBT people specifically trained up and elected to office. And I want you to know that if you are interested in running, our very first candidate and campaign training of the year is happening at the end of March in Fort Lauderdale. We would love for you to join us there so that we can give you the tools that you need to be successful. So you can check us out at this website and learn more about that. But with that, I will turn it back over. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm going to toss it over to Michelle. So for those of you who weren't able to catch her amazing talk about an hour and a half ago, time is now relative when you're at Lesbians Who Tech.
When you're a lesbian in general.
Yeah, well, yes.
I'm still on East Coast time.
Yeah, East Coast. So Michelle Ortiz is the Western Regional Director at Emily's List. Emily's List. Awesome. Michelle oversees fundraising in 12 key Western states. She is an integral member of the Development Department, which is tasked with raising the millions of dollars Emily's List uses to support candidates and the political programs that help to elect pro-choice Democratic women at a federal, state, and local level. So I'm going to toss it over to her and let her introduce herself because she's much more amazing than this.
Your intro was good. I am glad to be here. I hope that you caught some of what I spoke about before. I have the great pleasure of working for Emily's List as the Western Regional Director overseeing 12 states in the West, which keeps me pretty busy. I also have been working for Emily's List for 5 years, and we are also recruiting women at big chunks. So far on our website, people have signed up, and we have over 8,500 women who have signed up to run for office since Election Day, and the numbers just keep getting bigger and bigger. So it's an exciting time, and I know for Victory Fund and for Emily's List, we're going to do all that we can to combat all that has happened and make sure that we continue to push forward, because that's what we can, and we're just both excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. So we've kind of talked about the urgency of now. Mm-hmm. We've talked about what we all know is a situation that we are dealing with at the federal level. But I think both of you could agree that changes at the federal level really do start at the local and state level.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of amazing people in this room who are thinking to themselves, okay, Michelle's asked me to run, Aisha's asked me to run. What does that mean? Where do I even start when I'm thinking about running for office? And I know this is big and vague. You can choose one of the many parts of this answer. But if you were sitting in this room and there's one piece of advice that you would love to have heard about, or love to have given about running for office or helping somebody run for the office, what would that be?
Do you want to start it off? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's a lot of things, but one of the things that Michelle said earlier in her presentation is so true, is that as women and also as queer people, we have to be asked multiple times to run. So I'm going to start off by asking you all again, so this could be like your seventh time today. Please do consider running for office, because running for office is really the next step in public service. I know that everyone here is philanthropic. Many of you probably give to candidates, right? So you're giving political money too. The next step in serving your community is to really think about how you get involved and how you run. And, you know, for me, I would tell anybody that if you're pissed off about the pothole not being filled, if you're concerned about what's happening with your drinking water, if you are really concerned about the fact that, you know, textbooks that are based in science are being taken out of schools, I mean, the really practical things that affect our day-to-day lives, then that is political. And you should consider just going down to the meeting that's happening in your community and talking about it. Because the first step of getting in, the first thing to understand is that all politics are local. I am not imploring anyone in this room to raise their hand and run for Congress, unless you're like sitting on about $10 million and you can like self-fund. But I would really suggest that you think about the fact that the politics are local and like what's affecting your day-to-day life, and go start having those conversations with your neighbors. That's really the first step to deciding if you can run for office, if you want to run for office. If you don't know what the people in your community care about because you've never had a conversation with them or been a part of any community gathering, then, you know, you're not quite there yet. So that to me is the first step. Go, listen, be engaged, share your opinion, talk to the people who are currently serving, and start there.
Michelle?
I think that's great advice. I think part of it is absolutely listening. I think it's also taking the information that you hear and applying it. And I think that's why a Victory Fund and Emily's List are so important at this time, because the trainings that we are actually offering will show you what you need to actually have those types of conversations with people if you feel a little bit weird, because sometimes you're not there yet, right? Sometimes you are this great leader in this one area, but you don't really know how to talk about what you want to do in a different area. And I know that both of our trainings can actually implore you to actually find that way and find your voice with the things that are important to you. I would say probably the most important piece of advice is listening, but it's also showing up, right? Like, it's also showing up for people who are running and learning and understanding what that means. Because what it means is that you wake up every day knowing why you do it, and you wake up every day wanting to do it. And I think politics isn't for the weary, but you know, everybody in this room is not weak. Like, it's such strong, empowered community of women and men who I know are sitting in this room, and it's just a matter of deciding that you're going to stand up in a different way, and you're going to show up and that you're going to serve your country in a different manner, because that's what it is. It's a service to your country to be a good representative and to represent the people who absolutely need it, who don't have your voice. Mm-hmm. So
nuts and bolts, I do want to share some nuts and bolts, because we do, and Emily's List does, we do a very aggressive candidate and campaign training, which is essentially a boot camp. It's a 3-day intensive boot camp. The day probably goes from about 8:30 to 11 o'clock at night, and we teach you everything you need to know about running for office. The first part of that curriculum, the first thing we do is we sit you down and have real talk conversation about your family dynamics. Running for office is really opening yourself and your family and your friends up to public scrutiny. And so we implore you to think about that. Are you ready to have your entire life like open up for interrogation? And how is your family going to manage that and handle that? The second thing that we talk about is how are you going to raise the money for this effort to make it happen? You have got to be, and I would say this is probably even the number one thing, Michelle, and you're a fundraiser too.
Yeah.
You have got to be, if you're going to run for office, 150% comfortable asking people for money. And you have to start asking people for money who are close to you. So we will sit you down in our training and help you start to generate that list. So let's say you're going to run for State House, and you're like, okay, I'm going to raise $100,000 to run for State House. And so we're going to say, well, where's the first 10% of that going to come from? Your mom, your dad, your sister, your cousin, whomever it is. And we're going to write that list down. And then we're going to write down exactly how much money you're going to ask each one of those people for. And if you start to get queasy about that, well, then you get some soul searching to do, because you've really got to be comfortable with shaking people down and saying, I really need you to support this endeavor because it's really important. So that's really big, is to learn how to actually raise money and to ask people for money. And we'll spend a good amount of time on that. And then the other thing that we do, if you were to come to one of our trainings, is we focus on real world scenarios and like putting people together in groups of how would you respond in a certain situation, so that you can really get some gut checks on, we all know philosophically and idealistically what our values are in the world. But how those become operationalized under moments of stress is something different. And so, as an example, we have a pretty controversial module that we do where we'll take, you as the candidate in this exercise, and the exercise is that your child has just been arrested at a Black Lives Matter rally on like the eve of your debate. And it's going to come up and like, what are you going to do and what are you going to say? And maybe you're from a community in Alabama. And how are you going to address the issues around why your child was at the rally for Black Lives, right? That's a conversation. And, maybe it's a conversation you're having in a community where there aren't a lot of Black people. And then you have to talk about, the fact that your child got arrested and how all of this is central to your values, and you're trying to win a campaign. And this is controversy. So that kind of like really understanding how you're going to react and respond in critical situations is important as a candidate. And we take you through that kind of thing as well.
So you both hit on something very important, which is this thing about fundraising, right? And money in politics.
Yeah.
Something that no one's worried about at all. But really, if you're sitting out in the audience and you're a young person who is just coming up and like, I want to run for office, what can you be thinking about right now as you're going through your career, as you're building, as you're doing these passions, you're having these meetings with your neighbors, you're really getting involved? What are the things you could be organizing in your mind now to prepare you to have this network, besides your family? Prepare you to have this network, and what other networks would you include in that? Not just your family, but also, your other additional networks that may be there for fundraising as well.
Gosh, I think it's like you come to Lesbians at Tech. I mean, Leanne has created something so creative, so unique, where you get to network with a bunch of people who believe pretty much the exact same things that you do, right? You start from there. You start from the areas that you go to naturally, right? And you go and you make sure that each card that you receive that you follow up with. I mean, we all receive cards, right? And we all think, oh, well, I'll write a message on it and then remember, and then we forget. But the idea is, if you are actually really considering becoming a candidate, is that you will follow through, and that is an important part of showing up. As a fundraiser, I can tell you, I just came off of the cycle where I raised $7 million into the 90, and I can tell you that no is just a maybe. And so if you have that understanding and you get through that, and I get it, like it's not like the thing that you know initially, but it's the thing that you learn and the thing that like grows in you, because you just know that you're so empowered and you just want this so badly that the no is actually a maybe, because it's just a matter of time till they understand how great it is that you're a candidate, right? And so I think each time that you go and you network, anybody that you meet, I think it's just an opportunity to get them to also help support you. And I think it's just as good to talk about the fact that you are interested in running for office. That's something that's in the back of your mind, because I think people want to support that. They're very interested in especially people with your backgrounds and your success already as people and as women. And men in the room. I know that there's a lot of men, but that we need these people. We need your experience, and the type of skills that you have to represent the communities that are now facing so many different problems that we need different types of leaders to fix.
Mm-hmm. I would just add two things to that. Immediately, right now, start having people's back.
Yeah.
So who are you showing up for,
right,
and being in service to, right now in this moment, right? How many, beyond your community gatherings, how many organizations are you supporting? How many other candidates are you supporting? How are you creating a platform for other people, nurturing and supporting other people as they try to do really great work? It's super important that you have a reputation for being a supportive ally to others who share your values. Because you can't just show up out of nowhere and then no one has found that you've been a friend to them, and all of a sudden you want everybody to be a friend to you. So that's number one. And then number two, I would say, have a point of view and start to really practice articulating that within the networks that you're creating. Now, everyone is not going to go and launch their own talk show podcast like my wife and I did. Danielle's my wife over there. But it is really important that as you're starting to branch out your network, how are you using your social media as a way to share more than just memes of cats, but as a way to really start to share a bit about your point of view and have like some real meaningful passion and opinion about things that are happening in the world, and to articulate, the values of what you might want to shape and how you want things to be better. Because it's also curious when people show up and want to run for office and nobody knows what you stand for. So there's no time like the present to begin to craft both of those. Be a great ally, have people's back, and then really start to articulate who you are in the world, who you want to be, and make sure you can share that in a way that other people can glom onto it.
So you hit on something very important. We got one more main question before we close this on up. It's the personal narrative, right? It's creating who you are as a candidate and creating a footprint. Everyone has their own footprint, though. Everyone's very unique. We all have our own culture, our own backgrounds. And this word has kind of come up, and particularly in politics, about authenticity. How important, how far do we be ourselves? Because, I've managed campaigns. I had one particular candidate who was very much on being authentic, and it was great for her. It worked out. What are your thoughts about authenticity, how far we are in authenticity, understanding still running to be representative of a bunch of people, and how do you work with candidates on that?
Oof, that's a good one. I think that you, like I said, I think that you have to wake up every day knowing why you do it, right? And I think that plays a really large part in your authenticity. It's the middle of the day. But I think people can feel and know if you're authentic. And I think it's a very big part because, they know that you're just feeding them shit. So, like, you can't feed them shit, and we're like shit kickers. So we know, like, what we read things all the time. I think you have to be authentic on the social media, but you also have to be careful, right? You can't just, you have to clean your house a little bit. You're no longer, when you're thinking of running for office, just representing you. You are going to be representing your district, you're going to be representing your city, your state, and hopefully, like, go on to the larger office. But I think that's a great question, because I think that in building, really thinking through what you are, what your platform might be. So if you're, interested in women's rights, then your platform might be that it's like women's rights. And really finding your voice in the authenticity of that moment is really important, because I think people either will be drawn to you or they will smell that you're just feeding them a bunch of cahoots,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of keeping it real and just being who you are. I think that authenticity is something that's not practiced, it's not rehearsed. The reason why Hillary Clinton had many troubles early on is because she has had a lifetime of having been coached to be, as opposed to just being able to be. And I think that we are living in an era where people just want you to be real, and that means that sometimes you trip, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you can be a dick, or maybe it does, actually, looking at the current occupant of the White House. But nonetheless, I think, though, going back to this idea that you should be in your community, listening, serving, working alongside with people, and really understanding the values of your neighbors, and presumably sharing the values of your neighbors. If you are doing that work, and if you have your ear to the ground, and if you are in real community and connection with the people who you aim to represent, then ultimately I believe that those values are going to be shared, and you will come across as authentic because you will be a reflection of the community that you're a part of and that you're aiming to lead. And so, you find that the people who come in and they're just like, oh, this is who I am and I would do all these things, that feel tone deaf, it's because they don't have their ear to the ground and they're not doing it in a really connected way. And so I think some of that authenticity happens if you just kind of relax, be who you are, start today in figuring out who you are, and then really being connected to your neighbors, because you will begin to reflect who they are, and that is what will come across as being true and being honest and being honorable.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to take too much time, but I know that everybody in this room may be interested in connecting with both of you. So is there a way that you would like to get connected with potential candidates in the room who
Oh,
would be
God, yes.
interested in both these amazing trainings?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that the Victory Fund has put up theirs. Ours is www.emilyslist.com, which is really easy. There's an area on there that says Run to Win. You just click on that and you sign up. And what we're doing is we're overlapping when you sign up with where you are and what areas are going to be open, whether it's local, state, local, or even federal. So we're looking at everything. I mean, I feel like, I'm sure you would agree with me, it's a wide open space right now. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of resources and a lot of people in this room and outside this room. But I think that we can have the community that we really want. It's just going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of people in this room deciding to run for office.
The biggest barrier to running and winning is you. And really finding the wherewithal to just do it, right? It's very Nike. Just do it.
That's the moment right there, I think.
Just do it. So hit us up at victoryinstitute.org. So quickly, Victory Fund is our political organization. So that's the PAC where we run candidates and actually do electioneering. Victory Institute is our nonprofit, which is where we do all of our leadership development and our training programs. So victoryinstitute.org will take you directly to our trainings. Victory Fund will get you to Victory Institute, so you can kind of navigate through there too. But check us out and come. And I'll be around too.
I'll be around
so
too.
We'll be around roaming about.
Yeah.
And if anybody is seriously down for 2017 or 2018, let me know, because we are very much eager to build a bench of candidates right now.
Yeah, we're here to recruit you.
Hey, all right. Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.